Welcome back to Z-Speed, and thanks for tuning back in. Unfortunately, we're going to have to replace the 2006 Honda Accord with a new project car. I'll show you what it's going to cost you this day and age to replace one, and some of the things I do when I first get started on a new project car. So if you're interested in that, just stay tuned. So if you're wondering what happened to the Honda Accord, no, the engine didn't blow up or something else catastrophic didn't happen at all. She's still running strong at 206,000 miles. But unfortunately, I was sitting at a red light with my brake lights on and the driver behind me coming up pretty fast. I guess she didn't see the lights or my brake lights, and bam, she clipped the corner. She broke right at the last minute and didn't even hit her brakes. So it really damaged the structure here, pushed in the rear bash bar, caved in the trunk a little bit, and obviously hit the corner panel here. And the insurance company decided that $4,700 they were going to go ahead and total this out. So I really wanted to keep it, but I didn't want to have to pay for the repairs on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the cash out. I think they gave me right around $3,700 for this. So we're gonna apply that to a new Honda. That's the good news. We're gonna get another Honda for the channel, but I'm gonna show you, exactly what I had to go through to find a Honda and how expensive everything is now in the used car market. It's pretty rough out there. So we're gonna go through that now. So I decided on a 10th generation Honda Civic because it's one of the first generations to have a turbocharger, and I started like you would. I started with Car Gurus, Carvana, AutoTrader, just to name a few. I'm not sponsored by any of these guys, so I was just going through looking for the best possible deal. I kind of wanted to stay around 20,000 or less, and you can see the prices are pretty outrageous right now for used vehicles. I don't know if you've looked at any lately, but they're pretty high. You can see most of these are running with 50, 60, 70,000 miles, and they're still in the mid 20s at 23,000, 24,000, and so on. So it's really hard to find a good deal these days. And a lot of the cars, as soon as they end up on the lot, they are snapped up right away. So it's a seller's market right now. So I've been scouring the internet for a good 2.5 to 3 weeks at this point, and I popped onto AutoTrader one night and found a 2017 Honda Civic Si with 100,000 miles on it, just under 22,000 bucks. And I thought, well, that's pretty close to my budget. Let me go ahead and make an appointment with AutoTrader and check this vehicle out. So AutoTrader contacted me and sent me to Tamron Honda, which is one of the local dealerships in my area. And I just showed up after visiting a friend one day in the afternoon. And when I got on the lot, the sales rep didn't even know that they had a Honda Civic for sale because AutoTrader had posted it before it was even ready to put on the lot, which is great. That means I was the actual first person to look at this Honda Civic Si. So I took the vehicle out on a test drive, and this thing was awesome. It had also been serviced at Tamron Honda, so I had a service record of the oil changes, and everything looked pretty good. One owner, and they told me a little bit about him. He had picked up a Type R and turned it into a Civic, so I decided to pull the trigger and grab this 2017 Honda Civic Si for the channel. And if you think the outside of it looks pretty clean, take a look at this engine. Of course, the Honda dealership detailed the engine, but this thing looks excellent. I mean, I haven't really seen an engine this clean in a long time. I haven't bought a new car since I bought the 350Z. This engine is awesome looking here. So all we really have to do is probably change a few fluids, and then we can get started on some of the aftermarket mods. So I pulled out the guy who helped me buy this car.
Hey, man.
This is Trey. He's also a YouTuber.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty stoked that we got to talk about YouTube while we're waiting to purchase the car. You really can't beat the condition that it's in. He's also got a car too. What kind of car did you say you had exactly?
It's just a Hellcat Junior, you know, just the Charger.
And so you
got that, yeah.
And you got a tune, you got some aftermarket mods.
It's catalytic converter delete, straight pipe all the way back. You know, cold air intake, just, you know, little minor stuff. So make it sound real good.
And you're able to get about what was your max horsepower after your tune?
Oh, it was got on the interstate probably 505, 502, something like that.
So that's like a baby Hellcat right there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. Right. That's awesome. So I'm really happy to have met Trey, and he's really helped me out getting this. It was pretty smooth. It was like basically all we did was just kick back and wait for the banks to do their thing, and yeah, so it was great. I got here, I guess, before you guys even had put it up.
Right, I hadn't even known that it was here.
Yeah, so I found it on AutoTrader, so I came in and Trey did not even know it was available, so he went and pulled it out. So I'm going to show you that step on how I did the AutoTrader thing. But yeah, thanks again to Trey.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, brother.
Cool.
Man, take it easy.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So thanks to AutoTrader, I was the actual first person to take this car for a test drive. I'm not sure if AutoTrader typically beats all the other websites when posting new cars for sale out there, but at this day and age, you really need all the advantages you can get to find a decent deal on a newer used car. So check them out. They may give you a little bit of an advantage. So the first thing I like to do when I purchase a used vehicle is to go ahead and swap out the engine oil with some fully synthetic engine oil. I'm using Castrol here, but pick whatever brand you like to use, and that's going to be a lot better than your traditional oil. And of course, I'm going to replace the oil filter. Here I'm using a K&N, but I'll probably pick up some Honda oil filters in the future and use those. K&N or Honda, either one should be great. I like to change my oil out about every 3,000 to 4,000 miles. That might seem a little bit frequent for a lot of you, but let me show you this bottom end of the 350Z here. I pulled that apart, and when I was changing out my rear main seal, you can see that the bottom end of this thing looks as perfect as the day it rolled off the assembly line, and that's because I've been changing the oil out every 3,000 miles and using synthetic oil since I bought it brand new. And one of the next things I really like to do is paint correction. Even though this is a pretty clean car, there are a few scratches and one ding there. So I'm going to go ahead and wash the car thoroughly before I do any paint corrections. But that's just something I like to do, and I would recommend that you go over your vehicle and look for any scratches that are through the paint so you can correct those and you won't get any more rust developing. So that's what we're going to do next. Now that the car is all clean, I can take some of this Meguiar's Ultra Cut compound and use it with a orbital buffer to remove any rust that might be inside some of the deeper scratches on this paint job. So make sure you shake it up nice and well and go ahead and remove any rust from any of the scratches you might have. Now that you've removed all the rust from the small scratches that you might have, you're going to want to take some touch-up paint and paint those over. And then now we're going to go ahead and wax the entire paint job here. So what I've found when purchasing used cars is that most people rarely wax their car. And if they do, it's only once or twice a year. And that's just not really enough with the conditions, especially here in the south, deep south. You get a lot of rain, a lot of sunshine. And what happens happens is that your paint is usually starved for wax, and what the wax does is it keeps the paint hydrated and protected. So even if you pick this up at the dealer like I did, they make it look nice and shiny, but I can tell you that they didn't wax it for you. So what you want to do at this point is take a buffer and your favorite wax. I'm using some Meguiar's wax, and you're going to want to hand wax this entire car with an orbital buffer and by hand wherever you can't get to with the orbital buffer, and make sure that every square inch is covered. So once your car gets dirty and you wash it again, now we're going to do a second wax coat. I know we just did one a little while ago, but we're going to use this Chemical Brothers Hydro Slick Ceramic Coating Hyper Wax. This stuff is incredible. I'm not sponsored by these guys, but once you put this stuff on your car, it will be super slick and super shiny, and basically it'll look like your car just rolled off the showroom floor here. So you can see my paint is looking excellent at this point, so you're good for a while and protected. So up next, we want to check the air filter here, make sure that that's clean, and you want to change out your spark plugs at about 100,000 miles. Mine's at 100,000, so we'll be changing those out later. But yeah, let's check the air filter, make sure that they changed it at the dealership. There's 1, 2, 3 right here, and 4 right there. Phillips bolts that we need to remove to get to the air filter. So you can use a Phillips screwdriver or a 8mm socket with an extension here like I am right here, and they come out pretty easily. The screws stay in place and the whole thing just lifts right up. And yes, Tamron Honda changed out my filter here, so I do not need a new air cleaner filter. Everything's nice and new here, so that's awesome. Okay, let's talk about the underside of the car. We want to make sure that the suspension, the exhaust, and everything is looking good. And the first thing we noticed when we did take it for a test drive, the sales rep and I, is that it was a lot louder than stock. And this is the reason. You can see the exhaust has been modified, and we're missing the 2 resonators or the 2 actual mufflers themselves. They usually hang from these little hangers right here, one on either side, and they've both been removed. That's actually quite common. A lot of people do this. This is what the stock configuration should look like. So we're missing those 2 main parts of the muffler right there, and then they cut those pipes up and then welded them back together to make it look like a stock exhaust, but in reality we're missing the muffling part of it. So it's essentially kind of like a catback situation here. He left us the hangers, that's the good news. And so you just want to make sure that everything is normal down here. It's not a big deal for us because we're going to do a catback exhaust anyway, and I just want to look at the suspension. That looks great. This is southeast, so there's not much rust going on down here, and this looks really good as far as the suspension and everything else goes. But this pipe is definitely gonna have to go. It's starting to show its age. It's starting to rust since, you know, all that heat involved in welding is started to decay now. So we're gonna replace it anyway with a catback system. So after careful inspection of the underside of the car, the only thing I found missing was the engine cover itself. I tried to get one from Honda. They were on back order and they cost $160, but I picked this one up from eBay for $60, and this thing is very sturdy, really hard plastic here, and so I'm pretty happy with this. I'll link it below in case you're interested. And it even comes with its own hardware, so you don't have to try to, you know, purchase that separately, so that's pretty nice as well. So now that we've changed the oil and done a more thorough vehicle inspection, and now that we know everything we need to do, let's go ahead and do our first modification, and that is to change out the shift knob. I'm going to replace it with this Mugen aftermarket carbon fiber shift knob. You can pick one of these up from eBay or Amazon for between 25 and $30. They're really pretty nice here. They've got a little bit of weight to them, so it makes for a nice throw on the gear shifting, and it's also got the adapters, so it'll definitely fit the SI and probably some other applications as well. So just look those up, and so let's go ahead and swap that out real quick. First thing you want to do is just pull down on the little leather shift cover and just pull straight down, and it'll disconnect just like that. So it doesn't take too much to get those to break loose. So next up, you're going to need a 14mm open-end wrench. You're going to want to grab the shift knob itself and then rotate the 14mm wrench clockwise and hold the knob at the same time, so that'll break it loose. It may take you a couple tries to get it. That's what it took me, 2 or 3 times. And now we can remove this. You can see it's pretty beat up and clapped out, so it needed to be replaced. So now all you have to do is find the appropriate thread adapter. I found the right one here. It fits onto my stick shift here. So now you can just take that back off and then hand thread it into your shift knob itself. You know, you don't have to make it super tight, but just make sure it's nice and snugged up in here. So just go ahead and do it by hand. Once you get it snugged up in there, you can go ahead and place your knob onto the stick shift itself. So once you get it all the way down, as far as it'll go, you obviously want to straighten up your logo. And so once you get your logo straightened up, you can go ahead and move your jam nut into position so that your logo's straightened up. So once you get that all straightened up and aligned the way you want it, we can go ahead and take our 14mm wrench again. And now this time we're going to go counterclockwise. We're going to spin it counterclockwise while holding the shift knob nice and still. So just take your time and get your shift knob just where you want it. And then we're going to go ahead and rotate that opening wrench counterclockwise here. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I got it nice and snugged up here. And that's all there is to it. This thing is pretty easy to install, as you can see. But if you don't get it right the first time, you can, readjust it until you get it just right. And then you can just click the boot back into position, and now you're all done. So I'm pretty happy with this new shift knob. And of course, we've got many, many mods to go here. This is just the beginning. So definitely stay tuned for the SI content coming. Of course, we've always got the 350Z content. So until next time, you know what to do. Just keep on repairing.